This is a big video about a Rotary, so I felt like it was only fitting to start off in the good old Datsun. Sun's acting up with this thing. Back in the nifty, baby. Let's go. All right, guys, we have a bit to unpack with this car. If you've been following the channel for a while, you know that this is technically my fourth FD RX-7. The first one that I got was over 3 years ago, and I only really buy special cars. This car is not CYM, Competition Yellow Mica, which is the color of the 3 previous cars that I bought. It's a special yellow car that was pretty rare. However, this car is sunburst yellow, and this is actually a 30th anniversary version. So in Japan in '98, it's technically an RSR, but the 30th anniversary. 250 of them were made in sunburst yellow, 250 were made in black. It is not a metallic paint. However, I actually really like the color. It's got like a little bit of a, kind of like a mustard to it, and I'm pretty sure that Miatas came in the same color too. And pretty much all the RX-7s that I sold were because of paint issues, things that drove me nuts. They'd been repainted the wrong color, panels didn't match. The first one had the wrong engine, that one had an LS, that's a whole other story, we won't talk about that. This car, I would say the paint on the car is like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. The only hesitation that I had when I was buying this car is when I pulled the auction sheet from Japan, which I always recommend doing before you buy a car. Basically, most of the front panels had been replaced, which meant that the car had been resprayed. So I was very, very detailed looking at photos. And when this car was resprayed, it was actually done really well, and it's base clear. If you're familiar with a lot of Mazda colors, this car would have been single stage. Having clear makes me feel a bit better. And the previous owner was OCD enough that actually the entire front clip of this car is PPF'd, which is new to me in the non-Porsche world, having PPF on a car like this, but it's kind of cool. I don't need to worry about getting rock trips when I'm tailgating your mom. I hate how that sounded. I really hate how that sounded. God, cut the clip. Because the problem is my mouth moves faster than my brain does most of the time, and it usually gets me into trouble, but at least you guys understand the context. That's gonna get clipped. The car is really, really loud. You can hear it is not stock. I'll tell you more once I pop the engine bay. It's got a Tomei titanium exhaust on it. I like how Tomei sound on 350Zs. On this car, especially with the engine work that's done, it braps way too loud, and I think I'm gonna need to change it for something quieter. The wheels, they're works, so it's on legit wheels. The fitment, a little bit to be desired on the table, and I'm really, really, really happy that it was rolled before being painted. I would be terrified to roll the fenders on this car and crack the paint, because I'm very impatient and I do that pretty much every car I touch. Interestingly, the wing has been changed. So the 30th anniversary had like a little bit different style wing that kind of came out like this. So that is not the 30th anniversary wing, but it does have the 30th anniversary cluster, which is pretty cool. And the interior is very, very nice. Condition of the interior, by far the best out of any of the FDs that I've owned. Condition of the exterior, by far the best out of any of the FDs that I've owned. I'll be honest with you, I haven't even drived it more than just that clip in the beginning of the video, so I can't comment on how it drives, but we're gonna drive it later. We'll do a lap around the compound. You guys know the whole new car routine. It's got these side splitters. I actually don't hate them. It's a cool alternative to having the JDM skirts, and I think it looks good. The lip, a little much for me. It's got the carbon lip. Oh, it's got a brake kit. Look at the brake kit. Yeah, and the headlights, I don't know how I feel. It's weird. I need to hear in the comments, rice or nice. They've got carbon fiber on the inside, and it's got a Mazda logo. It's weird because from a distance, they look like cheap eBay headlights. When you look up close, they actually look somewhat nice. I'm on the fence about them. I'm kind of like an OE guy, so we'll see how long they last. And obviously the holes in the front bumper are gonna drive me nuts. And the lip is, I don't know. I don't hate the front lip. I feel like fitment could be better. It's weird when I get a new car and it feels like I'm car checking someone else's car, but I can talk bad about it because it's mine now. You'll never see me just like pick apart someone's car and be like, yeah, dude, your lip sucks. Fitment on it's trash, but I can do it once I've bought it. Kind of like the Datsun. But the cool thing with the Datsun is I've like actually been in contact with the previous owner the whole time, and he's really enjoyed seeing everything that happens with the car. Even if I talk bad about some things that he did, he doesn't care. He's cool. All right, so the big thing on this thing is the engine. I have owned FDs now for 3 years, and I have not had a single car that I wanted to take to Sevens Day. And I think this is the first one because it's built, not bought. Or wait, no, bought, not built. I really, really wanted to build an RX-7. We have builds planned out for like pretty much the next year between tying up loose ends, other things that are in the pipeline, and I did not want to miss another 7 stay. So I bought a car that was built already. This car is bridge ported. There's 2,000 kilometers on the engine build. It may not have a Garrett, but it's got a decent turbo kit. It's a Borg Warner 9069 or whatever the numbers mean. I don't know if it's not a Garrett. The turbo numbers don't make sense to me. It's V-mounted and it's got pulleys. If you're an RX-7 guy or Rotary guy, you probably know more than me. I've just been jumping in head first because I don't really know nothing about none of this stuff. And it doesn't have a 9-inch, that's for sure. Is it TJ that always was breaking diffs, or is he always breaking transmissions? Something with TJ and FDs. Comment below if you followed TJ's FD experiences. All in all, this car's pretty much ready to rip. It still needs to go through the LZ check through, but right out of the box, my plan is I'm sending this car up to the Northeast to go enjoy myself while I'm up there hanging out with friends and family. I've had one of my CYM cars up there that was relatively stock, but to have like a proper built FD that also runs pump gas, one thing that I'm on the fence a little bit about, but I'm also kind of excited to experience. This car is pump gas and water meth. So there's a little tank back here, and when you go into a certain boost threshold, it sprays water meth in the intake. Same setup that I ran on my Mark V Super when I had it. It's a good alternative to E85 because you don't consume as much fuel, and the water meth still gives you the cooling properties. I probably will need to fill that tank up depending on how much I drive, maybe every time that I change gas, I don't know. One of my least favorite things when I go to Connecticut and I travel is having to bring drums of E85 and gas tanks in the back of the car and worry about getting stranded somewhere. So this will be cool. And it does have all the fail safes that you need when you have a water meth system. There's 3 gauges, and basically, if it senses a flow issue or if the car goes lean, it can pull boost out of the car to make sure that you protect your engine, because the last thing you want is detonation. Now, I will let you know, prior to filming this video, Vargas was in town and I wanted to get the car on the dyno with Vargas here. So we're gonna cut to the footage of me inspecting and going over the engine bay, mainly checking for boost leaks before I throw the car on the dyno and verify everything's good on the tune. Driving the car into the shop from the transport truck, I could tell it was running super rich. Maybe it's an elevation difference, maybe the tune on it just wasn't that good, but revving it, it just didn't sound so great, and it worked out perfectly. This car got dropped off in like the final hours while Vargas was here before he flew home. Now, extremely convenient that this car showed up right when Vargas was still here. So he's got a few hours left, and one of the first things I want to do is have him look over the tune. I think one of the most nerve-wracking thing with me and Rotaries is that there's a lot of different tuners with a lot of different methodologies. Some that know what they're doing, some that don't, but I've had great experiences with Vargas. Before I even rip on this car, I want to make sure it's dialed. Before we throw it on the dyno though, as you guys know, we got to do a boost leak test, because if we go through all that effort of tuning it and it's got a bunch of boost leaks, it's gonna throw off the whole map. While I'm doing that, I'll probably inspect some of the vacuum lines. If any are old and fragile, I'll probably replace them. In areas like here that don't have any clamps, I'll go ahead and add some clamps because, well, I don't know why you wouldn't when you can just easily go boop, pull a line right off. There's not even like barbing there, so just kind of asking for trouble, if you ask me. Pretty cool though, this is my first mid-mount car. All of the intercooler piping looks like it's gonna be real easy to access. This one already looks kind of loose, but it's not like we'll need to be taking off bumpers or anything to address boost leaks if we find them. Let's see what she'll hold. I guess this car's probably running around 15 pounds. Sounds like we got a leak over here. A little high-pitch hissing. It sounds like that might be the air entering the engine when you hit a certain pressure. I wonder if it like rotated the rotor. I still don't get the premise of boost leak testing rotaries. I guess it's like a piston engine where you need to have it in a certain spot. So it might be better off just putting the smoke tester in it since it's more likely to show where the leak is, versus just trying to pressurize the system. This on the left was the size of the line on the turbo versus on the right what should have been on there. This is just an accident waiting to happen. Now, I'm not a rotary expert by any means, but from what I've come to learn, especially through my experiences with the Datsun and being around other rotaries, they kind of have a bad rep, but it's not necessarily for the engine. A lot of it is mainly with the FCs and a lot of the older rotary swapped cars. It's the stuff around the rotary that has issues. Obviously, it could be oil and oil temps, but a lot of the time they were cheap builds thrown together, and the stuff around the engine is what causes them to have reliability issues. In this case, I think it was a ticking time bomb waiting to happen, given that the wastegate line was about to come off just with me looking at it. When that happens, there's no boost reference telling the car how much power to make, and it will just go to infinity boost on 93, detonation, which on rotaries I guess would kick a seal or do something else, not sure, but very bad for engine, so I'm glad we caught it. Tightened up a couple other little things, ready to put it on the dyno, check over everything else. I found some paperwork in the trunk of the car that actually has a dyno graph. Now mind you, I bought this car having no idea what kind of power it made. I knew it had a bigger single, so I figured it would make some decent power, but according to the graph I found, this thing almost makes 600 horsepower, which is pretty crazy, especially on pump gas. Sure, there's water meth, which obviously helps a lot, but not run E85 and make that kind of power number is kind of convenient. This thing is so loud. Before even doing a baseline test, I've been familiarizing myself with the ECU that's on this car. It's an Adaptronic, which is kind of new to me. So I've just been kind of poking around through the software, getting an understanding of how the tables work, and kind of wrapping my head around the whole system with the water meth, the fail-safes. This car is quite a bit different from other stuff that I'm used to, but looking at the timing table, knowing what Vargas has taught me already, I'm pretty confident to do a baseline test that this thing is very safe. I know fueling's a little bit off, just revving it kind of gets a little too fat, but rich is better than lean, especially with the Rotary. I mean, really, any engine, really. Apologize for the poor filming right now. It's just me. Vargas is over helping Colette with her engine right now. First pass, my logic is I set the load pretty low on the dyno so it doesn't go into crazy boost cells. Hey, look who just showed up! Dude,
I heard raps. I have to come.
This software,
Oh, he's got the old one.
yeah, so I didn't want to update the firmware because I was scared that could mess with the map.
That's my favorite one too.
Is it really?
The old one, yeah.
It's kind of like a Game Boy, but worse.
I'm really comfortable with that software though.
Sick. I looked at the timing, and the timing was like very conservative. It's like 12 or 13 degrees at full boost. So
You getting on this side then?
I'm gonna do a pass.
Huh?
You wanna look at it or can I just send it? All right, so when I rev, guys, watch this number. When it goes like low 10s, that's brake up on the transient because it has a little too much fuel. See, it goes low.
Alright, try this.
All right. Yep. One button? What was the button?
Map prediction is trying to predict the where the cells are gonna land, so it's overshooting it. So if I turn it on again,
Yeah, it goes rich.
but look, so it will go to trace. So look, stab it again and look where it jumps into. It just jumped to 6 pounds of boost. It's not at 6 pounds of boost, so the map prediction is wrong. So you go back to corrections, turn it off, and then we clear it, and then try it again. And now it's zero vacuum like it's supposed to.
What an easy fix.
Yeah, sounds way better.
Is that like some sort of two-step limiter?
Yeah, it's on ignition cut.
But it sounds like it's really low.
Not sure why the red limiter is at 9,999.
No, that's a soft one. The hard one's at 8,400. But I wonder if it's going defaulting to the cold. It's not cold.
No, so that's on Celsius. Gotta change that.
This thing sounds nuts. A little loud for my taste, but are we gonna do a pull yet or what?
In a second,
I wanna see what this puppy makes. This thing's so loud it ejected the exit sign off the door.
So we hit 24 pounds at 6,500.
It was really rich. It was like
20 pounds at 55. So you remember how you're hitting 14 pounds at 55? This this turbo's hitting at 21. So this turbo, the EFR turbo, is a spool fast. So it ramps in super quick. It tapered, it peaked at 24, but dropped off to 21, and it held 21 to red line.
I wonder, because I mean, it was super rich, right? Like 10 O's.
Oh, it was stupid rich.
Okay, so
but we can bring it to like a 10.8, but at 24 pounds and pump gas, we don't want to like lean it out too much.
Yeah, that is a lot, huh?
Yeah.
How do we know that the water meth is working, by the way?
It would have blown up.
That's encouraging.
The only thing we can do is go back there and look and see if it used some. So
that's
over here. Look.
Not bad for the first pass. So I wonder what the deal is with that dyno graph in the trunk. Maybe in Canada they like to inflate their numbers a little bit. You know, they got Tim Hortons and maple syrup and all that crap. I love Canadians, so I'm not talking trash. And they got FDF. Shout out Josiah and Donnie. Also, not bad. 463 horsepower, like that's a fun power band right there.
So my professional opinion, that's not right.
What, the dyno?
At 24 pounds, this should be making like 600.
What's the timing? How much timing's in it?
So the timing is for 24 pounds, it's like around 12 degrees, which is safe.
I mean, it's gotta have
A bridge. So okay, so Bridgeport with at 14 pounds will make close to 400.
So the only thing I could think is it's so rich up there that power graph should probably keep on climbing. Is that correct? And then
Yeah.
if that power graph kept climbing, that would put us on the trajectory more for like, let's just say like 515 change. Out of curiosity, I want to see the shape of that graph and compare it to the one in the
So
trunk.
550 is what I would expect at 24 pounds out of this car.
So I mean, let's
Conservatively.
get the fueling right and see what she does, buddy. I'm pretty impressed. For a car right off the transport truck, pretty good power, sounds good. Way too loud for me. But before we go mess with the fuel map, it is possible that it's a spark issue up top that's making it run rich. So we're gonna chuck a fresh set of plugs in it. It had such a rich idle and like rich revving conditions that there's a good chance it was the plug. So before we mess with the fuel map, put a fresh set in, pull that out. All right, Mr. Rotary, what's the consensus on the spark plugs that you found in there?
It's definitely got the right but wrong plugs. So these are for an OEM, like stock leading and the stock trailing. And I will never run a 7 on a car running anything more than 14 pounds.
This is what, 24 pounds of boost?
Yeah, it's on 24 pounds, so you're supposed to be running 9s all around at least. And some people will even run 10 and a halves. Like for upward of 20 pounds, you want to run like 9s and up. But you can tell how it's burning. So this one's burning way, way hotter. And you can see the tip is already like rounding off versus this one. And they're in the same rotor. And what you can do is you can crack this porcelain and it actually will go into the engine if you run, like stressing these out too much.
You want them nice and relaxed.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put some 9s all around and she'll be good to go. Definitely see a little bit of a difference.
In case you guys are curious for the part number for Rotary 9s, it is 777s 5777. All right, new spark plugs. Now we're gonna run, see if it changes anything before we start messing with fueling. So indeed, it was fueling, not spark plugs.
Yeah.
Pretty much identical graph. Still almost like 10.0 wide open up top. Recooled, add another half point of leanness to that.
Yep.
All right.
So let's get to it.
Lean her out, Poppy.
Air out.
Menos gasolina, por favor. Tio.
It's not always dándole gasolina, right?
Menos gasolina
Hay que
equals
quitarle gasolina.
más. ¿Cómo se dice power?
Más caballaje.
Menos gasolina, más caballaje. That was a lot of gain, and that was only like, it was like a third of a point.
Yeah.
And it gained like 30 wheel up top and just kept going. I could feel it in the seat of my pants actually, believe it or not. ¿Cómo se dice butt?
El culo.
Ah, sí. Yo cuido en mi culo.
Tú cuidas tu culo mucho. Yeah.
Sí.
Yeah.
Yo cuido mi cula. Gracias por la cubayaja. We ran out of the dyno session picking up about 50 wheel, mostly up top. We were able to still keep it super safe. I think we're targeting like the mid 10s, where before it was like very low 10s, even encroaching on 9s. Rolls over a little bit less, so it should pull more up top, but more than anything, I'm happy everything checked out. Now we can enjoy the car. It sounds really good, and I've become like a huge fan of the braps of the Bridgeport, but it's very, very raspy when I rev it. but I think on the Rotary, it's a bit much at the low RPM. Like high RPM rasp is good, but the low RPM just sounds like farty. I'm really excited to rip on it. Now that you guys know how much power this thing made, I think it's gonna be a pretty spicy unit. All right, we'll give a little roll into it at first. Yo, dude, this thing is gonna be freaking sick. Look, it's a Rotary friend.
What's up, Rotary Dang Dang?
Sorry, I can't hear you. It's titanium. I'm stoked for my first pull. We just spun first, like big time. Alright, we'll show her. We'll show her. You don't even have premix. Alright, time to see what this puppy can do. Bro, this thing scoots, boots, and shoots. It's a quick car. I can't get down with the sound. It's just so raspy that like, I feel like Rotaries have a great note and this isn't a good example of it. It almost feels like there's not ABS, or maybe because it has the front brake kit, but the rear brakes are stock, the balance isn't perfect.
Yeah,
But this thing's definitely, it's scooting.
and booting,
And shooting.
and tooting.
And snooting. I don't know how these tires are, but this has the makings to be an extremely fast car around the compound because it's very responsive, it makes big power, and it's light, and I feel like the gearing's like it's got all the things in the cars to be real fast around here. Oh, it's like, it sounds good, but you hear it's just like really ear-piercingly loud.
Yeah.
Like it sounds good, the note is right, the amount of note is just too much. So I must solve that. FDs are light, they handle really well. I have not done the good old LZ alignment or the LZ Nitto tire spec on this thing yet, so I imagine it's gonna be a little loosey-goose, but I kinda like the baseline cars before I start messing with them. And on paper, this thing should be pretty fast around here. All right, first lap, let's see what this baby can do. Ooh, good corner speed. Feels very balanced. I'm very impressed with that. Brakes definitely leave a little bit to be desired. Woo! This thing is snappy. Overall, thoughts on my first FD experience? It's very easy and predictable. It's like almost perfect weight distribution is kind of what it feels like to me, where the balance of the tires is just very planted. I think this is the most balanced car I've ever driven. Like the whole time in the corner, I can just kind of like four-wheel slide, just pick which wheels I want to slide.
Really?
It feels great.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's not the fastest thing in the world around corners, but like, I think it's going to be deceivingly quick. All right, FDRX7 hot lap, here we go. Woo! She's dancing. Fun car to drive. That's a good time. I think we just got a fireball too. And I swear this was not planned, but the RX-7 comes in 7th place with a 3107. Not too bad. I do think that this car would probably be somewhere in the top 3 on some like sticky NT01s, but given that the tires that it was on was kind of like a street compound, the car was not set up, it didn't have the best brakes. FD, very light car, very powerful, very capable, and I'm very happy with my purchase. A few things mechanically and obviously a few things aesthetically I want to change with the car in the near future, but this car won't be undergoing anything massive other than getting shipped up north. We'll have it on display at FD New Jersey at our booth, and I'll be enjoying it while I spend some time up north in Connecticut. I'm stoked to finally live out my fantasy of having a fun yellow RX-7. The best part is I get to cruise with Jimmy in his RX-7, which if you don't know was one of my old RX-7s. I'm happy though, I'm excited. No huge expectations for content other than me rapping along, going to Starbucks in the morning, and I appreciate you guys watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. More Dante content. It's kind of cool. I don't need to worry about getting rock trips when I'm tailgating your mom. I hate how that sounded. I really hate how that sounded. You don't even have pre-mix!